Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. You are about to join a frequency that will open your mind, expand your heart, and activate your spirit. Thank you for joining Kelly Meehan, Spirit Baby Medium and Master Energy Therapist. Kelly believes in the power of the Spirit Baby. She speaks with babies in spirit before life, in the womb, and after life. She supports, teaches, and guides others to tune into the intuitive and mystical parts of life for greater wisdom. Join her in meeting your soul baby and build your connection and relationship with deep love and trust. Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio with your host, Spirit Baby Medium, Kelly.
Welcome to episode 78, January 17th, 2020. Your Spirit Baby practice infused with healing artistry, dreamy creations, and trusting the universe. What beauty can you create within your conception? How can you use colors and inspired imagery in your healing meditation? What ways can your wisdom guide you inward for deep loving connections for 2020? I have a special guest. My special guest is Jenna. She is a mother, artist, birth keeper residing in Alberta, Canada. She spends her life serving her community through the weaving together of all her many passions. Deeply trusting of the inner wisdom and intuition within each person and child, her work is to support that connection with themselves. Jenna is also currently writing her first book, from which she dreams will give her the opportunity to share and support the wider community within this world. Welcome, Jenna.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love this. I don't even remember how we met. I don't know if I saw your art and I was just become obsessed. I mean, Jenna does a lot of things. Share a little bit about your kind of being an artist, but also the doulaing work that you do, and get people to get a better feel.
So I started being a doula only professionally about 4 years ago, but I've been an artist all my life. And through my work, I found that it really, really inspired my art, but I didn't really know how to bridge those two together until I honestly just trusted my intuition that birth art was important, and I've been exploring it since then, and I've actually found that it really elevated my work with childbirth education and just serving my clients because they've really connected with the artistic side of my offerings as well.
That is so beautiful. And I know that, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. Do you want to share more?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope, that's
it's
all
called
right.
okay, cool. It's called Willow and Womb. And so, again, I can't remember when my obsession has begun. And of course, Jen is going to have a big swollen head by the end of this because I really am just so in love with her art. And, you know, you're going to get the link. You all can visit it, because I do feel like it's really beautiful. And I feel like when we look at art, it's, of course, art is subjective, but art really is not just, you know, sculptures and writing. I do feel like there's a vibrational energy about it, and the person is really infused in the art. And these images, to me, when I see them, they're just very clean and very sketched and sometimes watercolors. And there are these images of little babies, but it's like coming out of lotuses and so much more, and kind of you have silhouettes of mother kind of, but I like how you make it like where it could be more universal because there's so much diversity, right? And I was even telling Jenna or asking her if she would do the cover to my book, which, you know, of course, I don't know when that's coming out. It's still working, but I've been holding that energy like Jenna. I was like, I don't know what her charges are, and we talk about that later. I was like, but I need that on my cover. I was like, this is the cover. I know this is the cover of the book, and, you know, I'm just so excited to see even where that energy goes. But I love this idea of, you know, you've talked about, so like a coloring book. Is that what you're working on, or is that something I saw a little bit, coloring pages maybe on your Etsy page?
Yes, so I'm wrapping up a coloring book too that kind of goes through the whole childbearing journey from menstruation to conception to parenthood. And I've also just translated some of my drawings into a format that others can color. And like you kind of touched on, I believe that art is more than just something pretty. It's an energy. And so that's where I approach offering my coloring pages, is for an opportunity for people to add their energy and their vision. And I often encourage, if people buy my coloring page, not to just explore it one time, but to revisit them, because often the colors or messages that might come through to them will change, and the meaning of that image to them can also change.
Oh, I really like that. So again, it's like that meditative practice.
Yes.
And I feel like that, when people are connecting with me, and everybody's always, a lot of the things I share about is like, what does baby want to share with their parents, and like, what is their form of communication and connection. And I've had art come up at times, and I've had journaling, that process of that having to sit there and write, has, is its own practice. It's not, I joke around, it's not always sitting like bound up, in lotus position, oming with the hands, like, okay, because that, I always tell people, of course, meditation's good, but also in that connection is your own unique connection, where some people, it's the creativity of music. And I've had people, actually particularly this couple, and the young girl she's crossed over and she passed over. She's, other side. And she was talking about a guitar. She was showing me this guitar, and the father was a guitar player, and there was some energetic connection between them around music, which was very just validating. And like, so his playing music, when he moves into that nice, peaceful, hypnotic state, it's his way of forming that communication. And I do want to talk more. We kind of, I know, we talked a little bit, it's like, bringing creativity to people. Like, I want to hear how you define creativity and what it is that you're bringing in this larger community space around that.
So I think that creativity is very much like labor and birth. Every time that we come to it, it can be different. We don't know what's going to happen, how we're going to feel. And so and no matter what we do, if we're cooking a meal, it might not turn out the same, or if we are writing or journaling or drawing. And so I think creativity goes beyond just that art too. It's a feeling of surrendering, allowing, that analytical brain to kind of quiet down a little bit. And it's really an exploration, I think, too, for anyone, even very, artists that do realism and stuff. It's still an exploration every time that you sit down and create something. And so I believe that creativity, too, is about how we approach journeys and how we approach parenting in relation to birth art. If we're very fearful to try something new, or we preemptively shame ourselves because we think it's going to look bad, is that how we react to parenting? Because we're putting pressure on ourselves and all those sorts of things.
Yeah. I'm looking at your downloads, and I'm like going, oh my gosh, all these images, I love it. And, I do feel like that creative energy is like, it is an energy, it is a force, and it does need to be recognized, right? We hear a lot of, women and men that feel like they've become disconnected by life, by survival. Mm-hmm. And then where's that creativity? And creativity, it's interesting because it is very vulnerable. We get very shy, or like, oh, nobody wants this, or what is this going to be like? And I know we just had this discussion in my solstice circle with my ladies. We try to meet every month and just kind of go deep into different things. And the energy of creativity came up a lot in the room. And there's so many creative people doing art and stuff and wanting to monetize on it, but they're terrified. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. It's like, I always feel like art is subjective. Someone loves it, someone hates it. That's just the truth of it. We can't make everybody happy. It's even like that. I know with the work that I do, I'm sure that which is a different creative project. you know, that can't be the obstacle. You know, it's like there's something that you feel connected to that's pushing you. When I did my journal, I hired an artist, my friend. Look, she's an artist, and she was really nervous about it too. She was like, she did canvases and then scanned them, and I was like, it was very, I said, you know, I gave her my ideas. I said, wherever you want to go with this. And it was interesting to work with someone because we were bumping up against insecurities on both ends, right? Putting out my words, matching the pictures, because I have a lot of words and a lot of content, creativity to share. I just don't know how to draw. I'm just not a drawer, if that's the word, drawer, or, you know. It's just not happening. And so I really love, I was like, other people have that talent and I'm going for it. And so, but it's interesting how that brings up a lot of, you know, insecurity. But then you look at it and you're going, my gosh, this person's doing, you know, amazing things. And she, you know, the art. And then my friend made me this crown and I'm just going, what the heck? Like, this is really incredible. And to find that, like, that trusting energy within to go, and even conception, you know, I mean, we talk about creativity. I mean, you're literally, you know, this vessel of creativity. And I saw in the offerings that you have, you offer doula support in conception. Can you talk about what that is? I don't know if people are familiar with that. And maybe I'm not saying the title right. What was the title again?
No, yeah, usually we say I'm more of a preconception versus there's also fertility doulas. Fertility doulas, I find, specialize more with women that might be having trouble conceiving, whereas preconception support is for anyone on that spectrum. So it could be anyone who just is making the conscious choice to invite a baby or a new soul into their lives. And so in that support, I mean, there's the logistics. I can help them track their cycles or however they're choosing to get pregnant, but also exploring their relationship with themselves, if they have a partner, and to try and also consciously communicate with any souls that they're inviting into their life. And sometimes that's done creatively through, I'm trained as a birth art mentor too, so sometimes we do sessions like that, but also through things like adding a henna blessing or something to their body, because I do believe that the choice to bring a new life into the world is just as important as the birth process. And so I think that should be celebrated and honored, and everybody should get pampering and nurturing during that time as well.
Do you do blessing ways?
I usually call them mother blessings, and those they look different to every family I serve, but yeah, I do those, and they're often full of a lot of pampering, but we try to make it a growth for everybody in the circle. I find that really helps them connect with their support circle and or village of who they're going to have after their journey. And so I think it's a celebration for everybody. Obviously, the person that's going through that transformation foremost, but I like to help everybody kind of feel that connection so they feel more connected to that experience as well.
I really like that you get to infuse henna in there, because I know when I did blessing ways or mother blessings, I call them both, I would hire somebody like local to come do henna or something for the mother. And I actually found this one woman, she moved out of state. She did something called gold henna. And
oh, wow.
It was really, I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, it was so angelic and shimmering, but it was more of a gold powder, so it's a little bit more, you know, temporary. But it was like, I've never been able to find that person again, though I don't do blessings anymore, but I'm probably open to reactivate that in the next years, because it was so much fun. It's so much fun to celebrate, right? The mother and the people, and just sit in ritual. And it is unique,
Absolutely.
you're right? It's like different. It's, it doesn't matter what religion, you're a part of, or atheist or whatever. I've done them all actually. And so I'm like, what are we doing here? And it's just so, I actually would want to bridge more into memorials and more grief kind of space. But I wonder if there's ever been a circle, like a ritual for preconception in a group. Have you ever seen anything like that? I haven't. Like
I've heard of it.
Yeah. Oh, you have
talked about that. I haven't had anyone ask to facilitate one, but it's definitely been talked about because that journey is up and down too for anybody, and celebrating that is a wonderful way, I think, to just start down that path.
Yeah, I almost like. Can you imagine? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, you said even. I don't know if I'd messed up your thought there.
No, and it just, I think it also brings into those practices that we need to have in place postpartum. And so that we can honor transitions that happen after we become, or after we give birth, and that sort of thing as well. And so if we really set that stage in the beginning, we're also teaching our child, I believe, of how they should be supportive and what kind of level of support that they deserve. And so we're that example even at conception, I believe.
This is why I like the spirit baby communication in conception, right? It's like being able to bridge that energy and have that voice and build that spiritual relationship. And I haven't ever seen ceremonies like that, but I can imagine it could be very powerful. Even let's say someone's going on a long struggle and a journey, and what would it be like to have sisters of love with you in that space, really honoring you to move into this next level and holding whatever beautiful, light energy there is to be seen, and at the same time holding any shadows or any dark places that want to be held as well. That would be really fun, actually, to do a circle like that. And I almost feel like I think in my setting, when people come local, some people come, I'll do a special 3 or 4 hour session, which sounds like a lot, but it is almost like ceremonial. Usually it's with, sometimes with partner, without, it's kind of, but it's more of that, holding the energy, looking at the energy, and then talking with baby. But I can imagine more women with like this, fertility goddess in the middle. To propel that. And
I think especially women that might be having fertility struggles, that is an important thing for them to have, because they might always be waiting for that positive pregnancy test, or to have that, be able to announce that they're pregnant to the world. All those little things that often are taken for granted for people that may not have that struggle. Having some sort of ceremony, recognizes them and gives them that validation without them having to say they're pregnant.
Yeah. I would love for you to share, I just kind of got inspired because I see you do have some samples of, art. Is it so people do they contact you to get these pieces, or is it more, because I see it says there's uses images for professional. Yeah.
Yes.
Can people just click this and download it, or no?
Yes. Yeah. So for personal use, it's just a click and download, and to enjoy it and color it. And I love seeing them shared. I have some birth professionals like doulas that would like to purchase a usage license so that they can just print it for everybody or add it into their classes and that sort of thing.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that. I was going to say, I don't know that terminology. That's why I was like, personal.
Yes.
So you get licensed. So then I feel like what would you do? So there's a lot of people that listen to Spirit Baby Radio, a lot in conception. I would say pregnancy and loss as well, but there's just a lot of conception energy, right? And so what would be a good image that someone could sit and meditate with? I almost feel like this baby with the lotus is kind of a sweet one.
Yes, those ones, conception for me is, for myself personally, I guess the imagery I always think of is flowers for me. I'm very connected with flowers. And rivers is another big one for conception with me, because in my own exploratory journeys with art, I have found kind of the river is what presents itself as conception to me, and anything kind of watery with flowers and that sort of thing. But for some other people and in other cultures, conception art is a lot to do with fruit and that sort of imagery. And so you might see some other creators have created some like that as well. And I hope I've done more now. I just have to get them out into the world.
I love how you even have a very, I feel like this is a very conscientious picture you have here. You have a woman nursing, which I absolutely love, with the butterflies and the baby taking in, but you also have a really beautiful bottle with flowers.
Yes.
Talk about that.
That's important to me. I have nephews that were fed by bottle too, because they had to. And, you know, to me, that is a feeding method of love too, no matter what is in that bottle, whether, you know, it's pumped breast milk. And I do believe that all feedings, whether it's from the breast or we're using some kind of supplemental system, we should be conscious of that and instill love into that as well. And I believe that, obviously, of being inclusive too, because I'm not somebody who really believes in one method for everybody. I think we all need that really individualized care. And so that's why that one was really important to me to create as well.
Yeah, and I see the water elements with there's a baby being held with water and dolphins. So sweet. And this, I'm like teasing people. They're all like, "Where's this website?" I need to find this, and you'll get that information. I just want to like give like, you know, we're like talking, so we're like, this is such a visual thing, like to be able to see the images. And you know, as I follow you on Facebook and Instagram, I'm always like, oh, I love that picture. No, I like that one better. No, I like that one better. I'm like, oh man, this is a good problem to have.
Well, that's
I'm like, this is a good problem, because I do have some like ideas on how your art could be, you know, used even for the things that I do. And I love how this one piece, it looks like, I want to say it looks like the mom's hair is a part of the baby and the placenta. Is that what that image is? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that one I did for a special, I had to write about what mother meant to me and the image, and it became this piece about ancestral knowledge in that mothering sense, and just how we're connected through that. And that's how that piece came to be.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, because that's another thing. Is like, now I may be posting on your thing, why did you create this? What's your thought process? That's amazing, because that's a part of it too. It's like, yeah, like you see as you shared, women, birth is like this watery element. So yeah, I do notice in these images there are water. There's like lines, and like that one has dolphins, and the nature piece I really like. And I do see a pelvic area, right? Is that the pelvic bone with what was the inspiration behind that one? So
the pelvis is really representative to me about connecting with ancestral wisdom through, you know, those minerals and bones that make us up and keep us strong and standing. But also the pelvis to me is baby's first cradle. And so when we're infusing a pregnant parent and helping them grow and feel supported, I believe that translates through every area of their body, and as such also supports the child within. And so, yeah,
Nice.
that's how this.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, I feel like, and I noticed that you know, on your Etsy page, so do a lot of birth educators, do they use your images for their work? Is that what, because it looks like a lot of the Etsy stuff right now, it looks like it's birth education, postpartum doula. What are those? What are people using those? Yeah.
Those are pretty new. My Etsy shop, is very new, so I've been slowly releasing, and that's, mostly for professional use, where they can, because I do believe that adding beauty into all areas helps us learn and absorb energy, and we really need to take the time. I'm not so much I don't like things that are super clean and cut all the time, so I think art has a way of being professional but also adding beauty. And so I like to offer that. I have a lot more to add of art that I've created for education as well, that I've got a lot of great feedback because it just helps people with those visuals, but also isn't some kind of silly cartoon that, it's something that they could connect with instead.
Because I noticed that you have 3 coloring pages on your Etsy, and we kind of talked about that lotus one and then that wildflower one with the flower and the placenta. Oh my gosh, that's so. And then I love this other one. Maybe it's more of a labyrinth with the mother kind of with this. What is that piece? I'm curious what the energy is behind that, because I have my own idea, which is probably really good. But it's like, what is your inspiration for that piece of the mountains and the river?
Yes, I have a drum upside down that shows the connection, which kind of represents the web to me of parents and mothers, and we're connecting all of that together, and that's what we're using to welcome and raise and grow children. But also it represents the heartbeat to me of both a parent, the child, and the earth. And keeping with that, I use drumming symbology a lot sometimes during meditations in my childbirth classes to concentrate, on that's kind of a simple meditation to do. And then I have lines kind of going around that whole image, almost to represent the generations before and after them, but also just their own aura and what they're giving off to the world. And the labyrinth, that's one.
Wow, okay.
Yes, and I left the center of that blank because, anyone can take a labyrinth journey to what their current, whatever they feel drawn to. And I love the labyrinth symbology for pregnancy and birth, and so I feel that the river and the mountains kind of translate to that, with the mountains being more like the guardian of the gateway into ourselves, and that river is both flowing and old, but also can be rough and dark and scary at times.
Yeah. So this page and all these few pages you have available for purchase, are they going to be a part of a book, or at this point it's just more separate pieces?
Yeah, these ones will just be separate. They're kind of ones that didn't make it into the book or were inspired just by, I do a lot of intuitive sessions with me with drawing, and they've just come out in a session, and I've just chosen to kind of share them. The ones that will be in the coloring book, there's going to be a lot of symbology in those ones too, but yeah.
I want to hear more about your private sessions and using art and intuition in it. Can you share a little bit about that process?
Yeah, so I use a lot of different mediums, kind of depending on what I need to explore. So if I need to really ground myself, clay is my favorite one to create with those, and it's kind of like a metamorphosis. For example, one session I was going to host a pregnancy retreat, and it was essentially like a mother blessing for a group of expecting individuals to kind of connect with themselves. And I was really nervous about hosting all by myself, and so I thought I need to create myself a little totem to take. And I started off creating this whale because I thought, you know, the whale is goes with the flow and it's beautiful and the singing voice comes clearly. But it wouldn't happen. I would create it and it would go away, and I'd create it and it would go away. And then eventually it turned into this rose. And so that rose, and then when the rose dried, it actually dried in two pieces. The center of it came out, and I thought that was really symbolic of pregnancy and my heart and what I was filling myself with. So that's just one example. Some sessions I like to use pastels, and I like to set the stage if I can. I mean, my children are around and everything, and life is going on around me. But I like to light a few candles or turn on some music, and I just start drawing on my impulses. And it often looks really silly and funny and bad, and then I kind of pull images out of that. And I used to do intuitive paintings for other people, for mother blessings particularly. I did one, I was hired by someone else to do one as a gift for a mother blessing. And hers came really clearly to me. And I painted it, and I didn't hear from her. And then when the blessing way came, she called me or sent me a message and was just floored because the picture I'd painted was almost identical to a picture that her late father had given her before he passed.
Wow.
And she had it on her birth altar. And so that was a really moving experience for both of us, I think.
I love that whole intuitive art piece, like bringing it together in the work. I know two different people that work with baby energy, and they did also like a soul kind of, you know, and I remember one of them who lives pretty local. Her stuff is incredible. And I told her when I sit with, you know, clients, when I sit, of course, on the phone, I have a notebook and I draw a little person, or if it's a long session, actually I have a printout, and I draw energy so quickly because information goes so quickly, and I write things down, I color, I see where inconsistent energies are in the body. And it's always funny because people laugh and they're like, I'm like, what's with the right ankle, the left hip? And they're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that's what's happening. And I'm like, yeah, it seems so random. And then I'm drawing, and then this one soul person, artist, she said, why don't you do that for people and, you know, and give it to them? And I just started laughing because if you saw this, you would just be like, what did like a 3-year-old write that? They're not, let's just say they're not for anybody else's eyes. I've shown them, you know, as an example, like, you know, to some people, but not, I try not to show it because it looks like some weird, crazy person drew a lot of scribbles and images and so, but I always fantasize how cool that would be to be able to draw energy into paper, like with babies, like, but again, I don't know, it's just not going to happen.
Oh, no, I love that you do that, though.
I laugh at myself because I literally, you should see these notebooks. I'm just like, what? But I was like, okay, it gets the information out, and it's actually a really good tool. But it would be fun. But I love how the synchronicity or the connection of like, you know, that she had this image, and it was like her father's energy was really connecting with you through that, because that was a part of the creation, right? It was like, you know, you're just kind of tuning in to your intuition, and it's so valuable because you're you know, a preconception doula, birth doula, postpartum doula. It's like, that's the doula you want, actually. You want the intuitive doula to pay attention, to kind of tune in, to not get overly nervous or, you know, overreactive. It's like, you know, centering yourself. I know with my second birth, I had, she was the apprentice midwife, but she was also my friend, but she was also my doula. And after the birth, it wasn't a very long birth. It was like from 10:30 to 4 a.m., which felt like, you know, of course it felt like days and hours, but it really, really looking at it was just whatever it needed to be. And I remember at the end, we talked about things later on, and she's like, she's like, I didn't really need to doula you that much, and she really didn't. She wasn't really doing much, which was good because I think that's what I needed her to do, was not bother me. Like I'm like a birther. Don't touch me with both my births. Like I don't want anyone to touch me. It really moves me out of my energy. It makes me want to take care of the person. Even my husband, I'm like, get your nervous energy away from me. It was like just touching. It was just like just the touch felt like a shove. You know what I mean? It's like, everyone thinks they want to be touched and massaged, but I'm totally like, let me get into my process, get into my breathing groove. For me, it was the ball, bouncing on the ball the whole time. And then give me my water. It was like, it's like working out. Like, give me the coconut water, put it on the side. I was like stripping with sweat. I was like, wow, I've never like worked out so hard. Working, I even at one point said, can I just give birth on the ball? Let them just kind of come out through my underwear. I don't want to mess with them. And then the midwife was so great. 2 midwives, they go, we'll get, how about the birthing stool? I said, all right, cool, let's do it. Does it bounce? No, but that's okay. I was like, once you get into that one thing, I didn't want to leave it. But then, it was fine. It was good. The stool, and he was here. And but that doula is so supportive. And I always tell women, whether you're having a hospital or home birth, like really consider having a doula. It's really important. And don't expect your partner to do it. That's always, I hear a lot. It's like, I'm like, but that's like really because I saw my husband, he looked so freaking nervous. And I was like, how is that going to support me? I don't want that energy.
And that's some of my favorite births, are when I can help alleviate any stress or pressure from a partner so they can just sink into the moment and, they don't have to be the hero or anything or feel that they do. They can just really connect with their partner, and I can worry about the rest.
Yeah, and so any fun stories that I don't know, that's kind of putting you on the spot because then you have to like think about it. Anything fun and interesting that you can share about some spiritual connection, maybe with a parent or with yourself, or you have children? I don't even know.
Yes, I have three boys.
Are you going to have another baby? I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
I bug my husband about it all the time.
Because so a little bit of reading energy here. I think I got thrown off for a moment. I think in the beginning I kind of slowed my speaking, lost my thought because there was a girl energy. And then I went to ask her, I wonder if she's in conception or if she's open. You're kind of like, oh great, it's 3 boys. Could there be a 4th girl? No. Could it be your client's baby? I don't know, but there is actually a spirit baby with you, just so you know. If you're curious.
Well, that's good to know.
How old are your children?
I think I have a soon-to-be 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a soon-to-be 4-year-old.
Aww.
Yeah, and they're really great, and they're totally loving of all. They're like my little art testers, so they do all my coloring pages.
I love it. That's great.
And they're always begging me for another baby. Oh yeah.
Oh, so is this other baby in the room here. You're like, oh great. Hey, you know what? Sometimes on these podcasts, that babies come through, and I'm not going to hide it. Things happen.
No, that's awesome though.
But I feel like we were going to go into another conversation. What were we going into? Yeah.
About, like, if I've witnessed maybe something intuitively in my experience. I think one situation comes to mind. I think she would be fine with me talking about this. She's my friend. But when she was in a birth pool, and she was very, she wanted everyone hands off and everything, and we were just kind of holding space for her. And I saw this light come straight. I could just feel it. She just glowed, like a goddess to me in what I would visualize. And I could just see this light And honestly, it was one of my favorite. I've always told her she's beautiful at any time, but I'll never forget seeing her like that, and connecting to that energy during her birth. And yeah, it gives me tears in my eyes now just thinking about it, because it was so powerful to be there and witness it.
I love how open you are. This is why I'm like obsessed with your art. Now it makes sense. I was like, what is that? What am I doing? It's like, because it's you, actually. It's just your energy and the way you connect. And I love that you're again open to kind of, and I think I was kind of asking you earlier, was like, so what kind of doula supporting do you do for birth loss, bereavement? Like, what does that mean to you? Because there's a lot of judgment I notice in the birth professional world around bereavement doulaing for limited bereavement, like not like acknowledging abortion in that. And so I was curious. So I was like, oh, this is like even better, because I do feel like we do need that full spectrum doulas that aren't just picking and choosing. And, if they can't handle it, of course, bereavement is its own special kind of space. But I feel like when we're really looking at bereavement, of course, we're looking at miscarriage, stillbirth, infancy loss, even possibly after, right? And termination, like, the full energy of that. So I was like happy to hear, like, okay, good. Now we have, you have a space, because it's reality. I mean,
it is.
How can women be loved and family supported in a way that's hard decisions and hard things that come up for people?
Absolutely. And I think, again, that's really needed if we're going to serve people in their wholeness. I really don't believe in picking and choosing what bereavement I will serve in that sense. And I don't think it's not my journey to take, so it's not my choice to make. And so I
like that. Say that again. It's not, what is it? It's not my journey.
Yeah, it's not my journey to take, so it's not my choice to make.
Wow, I like that. So we're just about coming to the end, and I'd love for you to share ways that people can, it'll be on my website, and now I'll probably even share it in the podcast. I'm trying to do something new. It's always trying to do something new, just where people can find you without listening, because sometimes people don't hear well, or they're like, they don't know where my website is. So, share your website, ways that people can contact you, and any upcoming things that you want to share as well.
Okay, so I do share most of my birth art on Instagram or Facebook under Willow and Womb. And I often, in my stories, is where I share a little bit more of my raw processes, and then the pictures are a lot of my final work. But for my birth work, you can find me in the sister business, which is Mother Willow Birth. And that I do have a website, and it's just motherwillow.ca. And then my Etsy is also just Willow and Womb, and that's just starting to kind of take off, so it's not quite as full yet. This year, I'm really working on quite a few projects. I'm hoping to have more retreats, my pregnancy retreats, but I'm also working really hard on my first book, where I'm really hoping to talk with people about creativity and how it serves them through transformation and all those juicy and good topics, and really going through it in not just love and light sense, but using it to move through trauma and all those journeys as well. And so I'm really looking forward to getting that out. I have to work very hard in this next little while, but I will definitely share about that when it's
Well, can people sign up through your website to keep that availability so they know and they could be informed? Do you have that option?
I don't, but I probably should. So that's definitely something I'm going to have to look into. That's where I struggle, is all the analytical stuff.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to thank you again, Jenna, for being here and sharing all this artistry wisdom.
Well, I'm so grateful to be here, and thank you for talking with me today and allowing me to share.
Thank you for joining episode 78, your Spirit Baby Practice Infused with Healing Artistry, Dreamy Creations, and Trusting the Universe.
This is Spirit Baby Radio. Thank you for joining Kelly in the energy of awareness, love, healing, and soul communication. Please join the next episode at www.soulbabycommunication.com.